Hey guys, welcome back to the Bad Dating Podcast. My name is Michael James. I know bad dating, so let's talk about it. Are you willing to do the work? That's what we're talking about on today's episode. Before we begin, though, please take the time to follow us on YouTube, subscribe if you're over there, and leave comments. We're also on TikTok and Instagram and Bad Dating Podcast. So thank you for that, first and foremost. So, are you willing to do the work when it comes to dating? That's what I want to talk about. And a lot of people aren't, unfortunately. So let's dive into that. So what are the benefits of doing the work? What am I even talking about? Doing the work when it comes to dating is something that you do, especially when you're younger sometimes, where you are dealing with a person as they're getting their stuff together. And that's important. At least I think so. Early on, because that's how you build. That's how you get, like, no one's perfect. No one has all the answers together. So you deal with a lot more people who are inexperienced and you're figuring it out. Everyone wants the results. No one wants to put the work in. I love that quote. I love the similar sayings because I feel like that's true. And I feel like a lot of people discount doing the work. Not at first, but especially once they get a little bit of experience or they get a little bit of age and experience, they become more adverse to doing the work. A lot of people just want to have the result, which I understand. That's what, like, it's the house analogy. Do you want a starter home or just like, oh man, the garage isn't finished, the walls aren't finished, we still have to do like so much work? Or do you get to the point where you're just like, no, I just want a home that's move-in ready, that fits my life. It's very little maintenance. Yeah, I can understand why there are benefits to both. First, if you find a starter home, if you're willing to do the work, guess what? Yeah, it's exhausting, but you have the self-satisfaction of knowing that, like, hey, I put in the work. Like, now this home is finished. Now this person is to where they're going, and I was there for that. For me, I've had several opportunities in life where I was in front of people, accepting an award, completing training, doing this stuff, and I didn't have anyone in my corner in terms of I didn't have a partner that I was seeing at the time. And to me, that's always been the thing where it's just like, man, I would love to have someone to look out and see. But I didn't. And so going over to the finding the finished product, I can understand why that is so appealing and so attractive to so many people. Why do we even bring that up? Because you just have to take ownership. You just pay for the finished product of the house and then you move in and you're good. That sounds great. But what does that do? So I already have a preference. For me, I'm always about someone putting in the work. I want someone to be able to put in the work with me because I'm willing to put in the work for someone else. And that comes from the fact that having dated and then you get into a long-term serious relationship and then you come out of that. Yeah, it really does suck having to figure things out with someone else or to deal with, like, oh man, they are in this situation again at this point. So I completely understand. But the reason why, if you're willing to put in the work, you get way more results. It's you buy that starter home and you put in that investment. Guess what? When the value of that home skyrockets because, like, I did this, where it was at this point and we took it to here over time. Yeah, it's more of your home versus that finished product. Cool. You just need to pay, you move in, but do you ever really feel invested? Do you truly own that home, or is it just the place that you stay? When it comes to partners, if you were only there for the good times, are you really there for the person, or are you just there for the good times? I've had situations where some people were just like, oh, we'll come back when this is done. So let me take this back to when I lost a bunch of weight, kept it off, gained it back in 2018. I was like, and in 2019, I was like looking at myself. I was just like, okay, I know what I need to do. And at this point, I went on a date with someone. And it was like, okay, wow, this is a really cool date. And we were like connecting. And I told her my goal of like, man, yeah, I was looking at, I'm into fitness, but like last year was like rough and I gained a bunch of weight and I'm looking to lose that weight back. And she said, oh yeah, oh my God, that's very much kind of like what I'm looking to do. And this is the goal. Cool. Boom. I was like, wow, we really hit it off. And then it became more of a, didn't end up working with this person because it became more of a problem of like, well, I know you said this. I know we agreed. This is her stance. I know you said this. I know we agreed, but here's the deal. I need you to do this stuff that like kind of goes against that. Or she was like, I was looking at dates that were activity based and stuff. Cause I was like, hey, I know I can lose about 30 pounds in 3 months, but I need to like stick to this diet. But like, you know, I would love to take you out. Here are great first real date activities, great things to do. Is like, I was living in a place that had like an amazing, dope mini golf course and all this other stuff. And I was like, presented a planned out date that was just like, oh man. And she's like, no, wait, no dinner. No, a date has to have dinner. I'm not doing this otherwise. I said like, hey, but I thought, you know, we had talked about, you know, what my goal was, what your goal was. And I thought that's what we had agreed on. And she's like, no. Well, how about this? Just lose the weight and come back. That's what she said to me. And so for me, like, I try to be nice, I try to be accommodating, but I have an ego. I have pride, just like a lot of other people. And so I was like, oh no, that's okay. Because why would I come back, a finished product, is what I'm saying. It has air quotes for people who are just listening and not watching. Although again, take the time, subscribe on YouTube. We're over there. But anyways, yeah, why would I come back? So yeah, in 3 months, 3.5 months at that point, I lost 30 pounds. I got abs again. I was just like, all right, cool. Back to 200 pounds. And then I remember seeing her on a dating app again. I was like, oh, okay, cool. But I just skipped over her. Why? Because you weren't willing to put in the effort. Like, I wasn't down bad where it's like, I wasn't at my heaviest. I was just big where I was uncomfortable, but I wasn't at my biggest. I wasn't close to at my biggest where it's just like, this kind of changes a lot more things. But like, you know, to go from the athletic guy who's a little bit chubby in the cheeks to like the adjectives becoming not just athletic, or it's like just other adjectives to describe me before the word athletic. Oh, cute, thin, sexy, whatever. Like that changed. And for me, I was like, my pride, my ego was against doing something that, like, why would I come back to the person who wasn't willing to stand by me? And that's one of the things, is I'm willing to, like, say you should give people the grace that you want. And I say this because a lot of people want grace. A lot of people have messed up situations in terms of for whatever they're dating, for whatever they're doing in life, where it's just like, hey, they want someone who will accept them, but they don't want to accept. Sometimes people are not necessarily in the best position. And I can understand, because if you already do the work and you get somewhere, yeah, you kind of just don't want to have to do any more work, especially if you were seeing someone who like wrecked shop in terms of your life, where they just like put you through hell and back when it comes to dealing with these other issues. So would you really want to go back and deal with a new person who reminds you of that? I can understand why no, but here's the deal. The more you invest in trying to be with someone, trying to grow and build with them, the more they're invested in you. The more it's just like, hey, I'm not quick to throw the baby out with the bathwater, because oh, well, remember she did this and we had that Christmas and we did these things that you build that strong foundation of a relationship that stands the test of time. And that's the thing is, especially dating apps allow people to move away from being as invested. You don't have to be that invested with dating apps. It's very easy to get into whatever you kind of want. Oh, you want to be in a relationship? You can find someone who will give you a relationship. It may not be good, it may not be healthy, it may not be long term, but you can kind of find whatever you're looking for. And especially with online apps, you can get a lot of attention. So it's very easy to kind of get a addiction to the attention or addiction to the search and not really want to put in the work that comes with it. So I had someone who had reached out to me and told me that they missed me and that they missed me and that they thought about me and all this other stuff. I was like, okay, cool. I was like, yeah, but first off, we've already fought. We've already had multiple times. So I was like, yeah, okay, cool. And then no work on their part as a follow up. Like, hey, they're not trying to talk. Like if you're not willing to send a message first, a hello, a good morning, or respond or do that sort of little things that are investment, what are you looking to get out of it? A lot of people can love the idea of the finished product, of the healthy relationship, that you do traveling, that you do camping, you do all these things that are great, especially if you see this on Instagram or TikTok, you're like, oh yeah, I want to be with someone who is going to take me to Spain or take me camping or all this other stuff. But are you doing anything to invest? Probably not. And that's a shame. Some people are. Some people, like, you run into these people where they're motivated and they're self-starter and they can be the driving force in a relationship. Like, I can be a driving force in a relationship, but I also know that for me, my pride, my ego says, I don't want to just be the person driving alone and the reason why the relationship is going in the first place or not going. So if I encounter someone who isn't willing to do the follow-up, do the work, cool. I'll let that, like, I'm not ghosting. I'm not fading. I'm not curbing. I'm not doing any of that other stuff. But like, that effort will drop off on my part because it's like, hey, I'll start strong. But if you are just along to get brought on the ride, like, oh man, I don't want that. I want someone who's like giving me what I get them, who's like planning events, who or is doing things. Like, I'm sorry, if you want a date, if you're seeing someone, like, on first dates, hey, again, I get it, whatever. But if you're actually trying to make an effort, here's how you stand out. Plan a date. Suggest it to the person. Ladies, a lot of you guys, again, even the best person who says like, well, I like traditional roles and stuff like that. Yeah, but then sometimes you say, like, some people will strongly drop hints as to wanting to spend time together, but then like with no effort, details, or whatever. And even if it's not your boyfriend, you guys should still both be contributing to a relationship. Otherwise, you're just the person that they're dragging along. And for me, if I'm at my best in terms of everything else that's going on and I have tons of time, I can really write off like 3-4 proper dates that are planned out and everything else. But if I have other things going on, just someone who is like suggesting like, hey, how about Friday this, that, like, goes a long way versus, hey, if I get a text message that same person who I just said, oh, hey, did they miss you? You know why we stopped talking? It's because they get mad if I go do something without them. And it's just like, yeah, but you do a million things without me. And if I invite you or whatever, like, they get weird. They get like jealous and like they become problematic in their head. And that's fine. Not ever, like, people are weird. Some people that's how dating is, unfortunately. But if you're not willing to put in the work, and it doesn't even have to be equal work, it doesn't have to be everything. Although, again, The more work and investment you're willing to put in, the better the results. And people really, really forget that you should be willing to get your hands dirty when it comes to investing in a home, and especially in a relationship, because you're probably going to need some work too. And that's the thing is, give grace, give as much grace as you would want. Trust me, I've seen people who have really great jobs and really good friends, and then you're around them long enough and you find like, oh, this is the issue, is like, you have problems, you're a human being. And people forget that it's very easy to judge others to an unrealistic standard, and you should kind of want people to I don't know, you should just want people to like hold you to that same standard. So for me, like, I don't need a woman trying to go crazy on dates and like plan everything like, hey, I got this. And like, but you should understand that you should be willing to make an effort and whatever, because if you're just there being passive in dating, like, that's why some people get like unhappy in a situation and cheat or do things. Is like, well, first off, there's a lot more that goes into cheating, but like in general, it's unhappiness with themselves and happiness with the situation coalescing. It's very, some people are concerned that the only reason why someone's there is because they love the chase. And then, oh, cool, maybe they get the prize and then they're no longer satisfied with it and they kind of keep it's like, yeah, unfortunately that can happen. But a lot of times people get into the habit where just like, man, I wasn't feeling like wanted in the fulfilling kind of way. The stereotype and what has happened for a lot of guys who get married and then, or someone gets married and then some little fling happens. Unfortunately, it's just like, well, why did that happen? The person that they were seeing was being maybe stressed, or stress was going on in their life. Maybe the person didn't take an interest, wasn't doing some of the work that, like, you still have to date your person. I don't care if you are dating them for a long time, or you're married to them, or dating them for a short time. You still need to be willing to do the work when it comes to keeping your relationship healthy, happy, and secure. And then you didn't do this, they're feeling this way, or you're feeling this way. And then someone shows up in their life who's just like, hey, I like you. I want nothing from you except your time. And they're excited to be there. That's kind of like a sparking back to what they had with you or what you had with them. And that's why that should never happen, because you should be continuing trying to find that spark and put the work in to be happy with your person and to have them happy with you, where you're just like doing things together and figuring it out. So for me, all I would want is someone who will also sometimes send messages first and foremost to like, hey, how's it going? Because as what's up? How's your day? Hope I was thinking of you, any sort of thing. Because if you're sometimes doing that, that makes me interested in doing that back and continuing to do that, because I'll always make the effort first. But then for dates, I've known people who just will hit me up to say like what they want. Oh yeah, I would love to go to Rei de Gato, which is the Brazilian steakhouse, and you can take me. Like you're doing me a favor. And that's the thing, is like, you don't know where people's egos are. And I can understand that like some people are very hesitant about, and they're very fearful in terms of stepping out of their comfort zone to say, for as a woman, that they're to like suggest a date to a guy. And it's very uncomfortable, but it's, what is your end goal? If you are trying to have the finished product, yeah, a lot of married couples and long-term relationships, they are way more relaxed and they don't have that sort of thought, because just like, hey, you can't have that. That's very confining and very limiting, or just like, hey, I've had that where I've had a very long day where I've had a lot going on, and then someone wants me to I tell them all the stuff, and then they're kind of just concerned about, hey, well, you can do like putting me to make me do more work. And just like, God, like, don't you want someone who is not adding to the stress? I literally had to tell that to someone who I was trying to talk to. Is just like, yeah, like, you like to add stress. Like, if everything's a problem, if every 2 weeks you're finding something to fight about, like, you're just kind of causing stress. You're kind of causing problems because it was fine and you take offense. It was fine and then something wasn't fine and you're not happy and you're mad and you always have a problem. It's like, yeah, but what work were you doing? Like, I'm sorry, I had just brought up that, oh, I'm going to have another competition. And okay, cool, I brought it up. And someone just like immediately passed the work to me. It's like, oh, we're not dating. Like, why are you, what? Oh, you can just send me money. I can just take care of it. I'm just like, this isn't pre 2001 where it's just like, oh, I can just book some, like, hey, I need your information. And also, I don't really want to do all that because that's a lot of work on my part. And for what? For just so you, no, that's the thing. Be willing to do the work yourself. If not, like, yeah, I get it. The final result is super attractive, but you really didn't want the final result if you weren't willing to put the work in. Yeah. So hopefully you're going to consider thinking about being willing, maybe on the off day, consider just putting in the work, because both sides get tired of just dragging things along. I've dated women who have been with a partner where they put in all the work. They made all the plans. They made all the reservations. They did everything and then got nothing for years. And then they're very much tired of that and not willing to be anywhere remote to that situation. And I completely understand that. And then so like, I'll be a breath of fresh air where it's just like, hey, I made plans. I did this. I would do these things. That's just like, wow, this person's, they would like that I'm making effort back. And that's when it's coming from someone who's been deprived of effort, having been in a long-term situation. But the person who has not been in a long-term situation in a while, sometimes they just don't want to make any sort of effort. And that's a shame because that holds things back and keeps you locked into, man, if you're not willing to put in the work, what are you going to get out of this? Yeah, as long as I'm willing to put in the work, okay, cool, things are great. And then what will happen is one day I'm just going to be like, oh man, this person's kind of like a mooch, or this person's just a dependent. Yeah, I'm good on that. And then you'll just get cut, because if you have no or very little investment, what do you bring to the table? Why should someone keep seeing you? Those questions have caused so much turmoil and chaos on the internet, because you can't really just tell a woman, oh, what do you bring to the table? Or why should I see you? I've had women say that to me, and it's just like, first, cool. If you don't know, then first, we don't have to. Like, if you're not interested, that's fine. Not a big deal. But yeah, I know my worth. I know my value. And everyone should know their worth and should know their value. It's not that crazy to think that someone should be able to put in work. Both sides. Hey, ladies, if someone took the time to like ask you on a date and they made a plan, you could say yes. You could say no. But like, hey, even that's a bit of effort. Or if someone says like, hey, on Saturday, let's do this. And then if you are going to make other plans because, well, he said that on Tuesday, but it was Wednesday and I didn't hear back. I didn't hear from him. Cool. Before you make other plans, like hopefully you would reach out and say like, well, yeah, he just said that yesterday, but it's Wednesday and he didn't say anything else, like apparently some people need a babysitter for every single moment, you should be willing to reach out and like confirm, verify, because unfortunately that's what causes so much problems. It's so much turmoil where it's just people won't want to do the work. Everyone wants to enjoy the results, but you got to put in the work. Anyways, that has been another episode of the Bad Dating Podcast. I want to thank you guys for making it to the end. Please take the time to follow us on YouTube, Bad Dating Podcast. I'm trying to get up to 500 subscribers, and you taking the time to go over there can help me do that. Like the video if you liked it. Leave comments to help boost the algorithms. And until the next one.